We are live. This is the Market Update. I am your host, Bill Noble. The quiet search for something to talk about. We got something to talk about. How about what's about to go on in Washington, D.C. and Virginia, and how that's going to help lower interest rates and help Bitcoin? The more this seems to go on, the more it seems obvious that money is flowing into mainly just the big coins as people give up slowly and slowly and slowly on altcoins. So all I can do with that is reiterate what I've been saying. You know, some coins you call your accountant. Some coins you hang on and believe in. Okay, what we're waiting for, I think, is for Bitcoin to reach escape velocity above 120. And the only way that's going to happen is if Uncle Sugar gets his act together on the Bitcoin strategic reserve. They've got an altcoin crash on their hands, and this thing with this guy in Argentina paints Trump and the Trump meme coin in a very negative light. That's subtle, and I hate these things like that thing in Argentina because it's so bearish. You see these things like Coinbase on a Formula One car, and then you have this guy in Argentina, you know, who's like an untouchable genius, tries to make a quick buck on a meme coin and gets absolutely hosed. I cannot believe a government official did something like that without asking somebody first. I mean, it's one thing if the Hawk Tua girl doesn't know any better. It's another thing if the head of a government doesn't know any better. Okay. We'll talk about that. However, despite these painful things, waiting to see what's going on with the Washington, D.C. housing market. I think the only people who are going to be making money in that area of the country are lawyers, right? You are going to have in 6 months, you're going to have an aggressive Fed response to what is going on in that area of the country. I mean, it's happening right in Powell's backyard, right? So don't give me this crap about, oh, it's data dependent and CPI. Don't give me that. Wait until you see some of the things, and it's going to be everywhere. This is going to be like the new thing. It's like, first it was how much fraud were they finding in all these little data points on Twitter. Now it's going to be, and they're actually tracking this, who is putting their house up for sale. So there's always panic listings in the Washington, D.C. and Virginia area, right? This is a huge bubble, huge. It's like some of the most expensive real estate in the country. But, you know, and I've seen it. I couldn't find the tweet, but they're actually tracking who is putting their house up for sale. One of them was a World Bank consultant. Really feel sorry for the World Bank. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, okay. You can eat some Bitcoin. All right, let's see who's here. Miklo, Swift C, bro, I got it queued up, and I actually know what it is this time. I'm ready for you. Yav, Old Smoky, happy Sunday. Carmenko, Tyson, Bautista, Grandpa Keeter, live on Sunday. Rockfeeder, Leo, Dominic, David, Brandon, welcome. Okay, public service announcement. There will be no stream Tuesday and Wednesday due to business travel. That's why we went with the weekend spectacular. So no stream Tuesday, Wednesday, news, let's go. It would be great if Elon could take a look inside Fort Knox. Fort Knox is the legendary U.S. gold facility, you know, the most closely guarded building. At least that's what they used to say when I was a kid. The last time anyone actually looked in there was 1974. Okay. So, you know, they did the low-hanging fruit Doge, right? They went to all the easy places. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's the Pentagon sushi budget. Oh, yeah, we're paying journalists or whatever, right? That's the easy stuff. Now they got to start looking at Fort Knox, the Fed, the Treasury, Social Security, Medicare. They got to look at all this stuff, right? They said they were going to look at it. Now they're going to look at it. I don't know how they're going to do it with 19 people, but when you see what they're going to find, or when they're too chicken to go in there at all, either way, okay, they go into Fort Knox and find out that whatever gold is supposed to be there is not there. Oh, Jesus. You're talking about gold at like 4,000. Because remember, gold has been this steady, slow rise, probably because, banks are trying to cover whatever shorts they have in as orderly form as possible. But if you have some kind of an announcement, a leak, or a gap move, oh my God, that's gold just going. Or maybe the gold trade has been done and it's Bitcoin. Right? All this stuff that's kind of percolating, it feels like all roads lead to Bitcoin. And then if there's any type of financial disturbance, that leads to DeFi on ETH. It's pretty simple, actually. And then there are the American-made cryptos, where, again, all money is going to flow, right? Like I saw Hedera spike the other day. It's like if everything else goes down, money is going to start moving into places where they are perceived that they're safe and that they have legit upside once they press the crypto panic button. And it really feels like they're getting close to the crypto panic button. We'll go over it. Okay, so Trump administration considers auditing Fort Knox. I've actually never seen a picture. That's interesting. Okay, can't wait to see what's in there now. Oh my God, I forgot about this. I talked about this. This guy from Argentina. So if you were doing Valentine's Day in America and you missed this, basically the president of Argentina did a tweet promoting a privately launched meme coin of him. And the guy rugged the project for like $87 million, right? It went to like a $4 billion valuation. Then it crashed. Then he deleted the tweet and then it crashed again. So your coin that's down 90% went down another 90%, right? What a time to be alive. Okay. Now this guy is probably going to wind up getting in trouble for this. So yeah, here's the timeline. Token rockets up 4.5 billion in 2 hours. Insiders pull out. Token crashes. President deletes tweet. What are we trading tomorrow? Meanwhile, you also have somebody climbing the Hollywood sign to fly a cryptocurrency website flag. I continue to believe that crypto is the only market that has an inherent mechanism for blowing itself up. Crypto is the only market on the planet that has a built-in self-destruct button. We are our own worst enemy sometimes, right? Someone just activated a Bitcoin wallet, okay? 300 Bitcoin they bought 11 years ago. It's worth $30 million. Okay, these type of Bitcoin tweets are out every single day. And every single day, I say the same thing. The people who hodled this thing, they hodled it through like the worst bear markets you've ever seen. I still think today, like 2023 winter was bad. 2018 winter, in some ways, was worse. Because there was just literally nothing to talk about. Everything was decimated in 2018. And these people just hodled on, right? Now, I guess if you bought Bitcoin for a couple pennies, it's just easy to forget about it and let the thing go up and down wildly. And then, hey, let's cash out at 100. Now, personally, I think cashing out at 100 is a mistake long-term, but it does speak to the nature of resistance at $100,000 a coin. I get it, right? And that's probably what's messing up the market, to be honest with you. It's like, normally Bitcoin would be following gold, but everyone's like, ooh, 100K. All right. Once the market's over that, which, I'm guessing, according to one of my colleagues, is like 120. Once the market gets past that, and I'm going to tell you what's going to get the market past that, is this recession and the rate cuts that are coming on the East Coast. That is going to spread to regional banks. Okay, Cynthia Loomis says she's encouraging people to buy, hold, and save Bitcoin for their retirement. It's really funny that We got all of these Trump officials on crypto. We got all these guys that we've appointed. There was all this talk before the election. The only one who's actually out front now is Cynthia Loomis. It is really easy to bull post it when it's going up. You got to be bull posting it when it's down. Trust me, I know. It is hard to be constructive when you wake up, you look at the tape, you're like, ugh. But Bitcoin is relatively stable. And even if they do flush Bitcoin out, how far can they flush it? Right. In the old days, you might suspect, oh, maybe they'll do like high 80s. But I don't even think they have the selling pressure to push it down. Matter of fact, I think, the thing you need to be talking about in Bitcoin is a supply shock. Just like gold, right? When people find out what the real deal is, or people think they own Bitcoin on exchanges and they don't, that's the thing I think people should be talking about. Now, I am on the verge of saying that the White House is panicking. Oop, did I say that? I think I just said that. I think they're panicking. Right? I mean, the stock market's going up. They didn't win the election because they appealed to people who own the stock market, right? They appealed to people who were into crypto, and then that spread into other libertarian issues. It led to RFK. Make no mistake. Like, he didn't win the election because of crypto, but his campaign, which was stalled at the time, gained momentum the day he criticized and talked about getting rid of Gensler, right? And that's when it all got going, right? That led to RFK. That led to all kinds of stuff. That led to the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and Michael Saylor hanging out with Eric Trump. And where is all this stuff? We got all these guys that they appointed. They should be on the tape, right? They should be on the tape like Cynthia, like, hey, listen, we're going to be here because otherwise the market's just going to bleed out. The thing about crypto that people don't understand is that altcoins aren't propped up by the Fed. They're not. So if you don't have like kind of a continuous flow of new money coming into like the altcoin space, it's, what do they call it? The guy I do podcasts with, he calls it PvP, player versus player, right? It's like crypto person versus crypto person. So if there's no new money coming in, that's why everything just melts down. So my question is, where are these guys, right? Why is it just Cynthia Loomis by herself? We got the SEC, the CFTC, a crypto czar, a sovereign wealth fund, right? The Orange Man wants to have a summit. Okay. So that means we can have a show, but is that a sign of disorganization? Come on, guys. Like, meanwhile, it's like we got like this thing with the White House is like, when you look at the market, it's starting to look like cringe, right? It's like, oh, well, we're going to do something any minute. It's like, okay, let's go. Right. I mean, I know he's going to do it because he's done everything else he says he's going to do. But when they do it, they better do it big. It better not be sell the fact. Okay, with Trump all in on crypto, Bitcoin bulls bet the trillions in cash on America's corporate balance sheet are next. If they go into Fort Knox and there's no gold, then buying Bitcoin is the next logical alternative. Right. And I actually think they better start saying something about Bitcoin or doing something with the Bitcoin ETF before they find out what the gold situation is at Fort Knox or the Fed. Right. They need to start doing something with Bitcoin now. Remember how we were like, oh, well, it's not going to be just Bitcoin. It's going to be XRP and Hedera, and they're going to have an altcoin fund and all this stuff. Where is it? Right. And now I'm like, oh, can we just get these guys back on Bitcoin? Let's get back there, right? Because we're watching everybody talk about everything else but crypto, which is what we elected these guys to do. So I know it's not their job to pump our bags, but it's also not their job to just kind of like, make announcements, hire guys in suits and ignore the market. Because the market is sending a very powerful message. That's the good news, right? They see what you see. Right. They see this thing melting down in their face, and it's not a good look. White House crypto czar gears up for major moves, signals big changes. Okay, excellent. Let's go. Crypto and Trump gang up on FDIC over debanking. Our story is pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, clearly, I think the crypto market and this whole idea of we need to wait for regulatory clarity. I think you've got regulatory clarity. Really would like to see more excitement from people like Coinbase, because I think this type of thing where the government can just arbitrarily destroy you because they feel like it, that's not going away. But I think it's going away in crypto just out of necessity of needing a growth industry, right? In other words, why are we literally trying to destroy people, right? Because Trudeau started this, right? It's like, oh, we don't like you. Oh, we shut off your bank account. These guys got to put something in place where this process of them just shutting you off, canceling you, turning off your bank account, it's like imprisonment without what they call in America due process, right? In other words, you're not supposed to get punished for a crime until you've been through a legal system and been judged by a jury of your peers. That's the way it was supposed to work. Not like, oh, we don't like you, boom, you're off. That's crazy. And now that's been going on for so long, it's not crazy. But in crypto, if now that they've stopped this, like big players have to come in and say, you know what, I'm going to take some risk, not sit around and wait for Congress to pass something. That's what should be happening. That's not what is happening as of now. All it takes is one thing, a macro event, to jump Bitcoin. Right now, the macro event, which I promise not to talk about or show a slide on ever again, is about what's going on at the grocery store with a particularly important breakfast item. That's all you hear about. There's a lot more to talk about on the macro front and a lot bigger case for Bitcoin that we need to stop hearing about versus what's going on with the price of breakfast. Now, I don't know if this is bullish or bearish, but we do have a Trump hamburger in Oklahoma City, which is a state adjacent to Texas, where we have a huge football rivalry. I'm very happy that this burger joint got a shout out from Trump. So now people can make pilgrimages to have the Trump burger. That's great. I love the Trump burger. I love innovation. I love entrepreneurship. But you know what? Can we please get the Trump stamp on Bitcoin? Let's start with Bitcoin. Never mind my bag or your bags. Can we please go back to Bitcoin? Can I get like a Trump burger and a Bitcoin cinnamon roll, maybe? Like, if Americans are going to be fat, can we please get crypto involved in this party? Now, on the flip side, the good news is when the orange man tells you that he's doing it, right? He's doing it. So in America, there are a lot of judges who have certain ideology, and that when the president or Congress passes something, a judge can say this is unconstitutional and throw it out of court, throw it out, and they have to stop the executive order because the judge said you can't do it. Now, that's not legal. That's not legal. That's not how things are supposed to work, right? So these judges who are doing this, right, they're going to get impeached, right? You know what I'm saying? They're going to get impeached, which means they're going to get removed from office, and they're going to do it. Now, again, I bring these things up not to get political, but to say, when they get to it, when the orange man has said he's going to do something, he has done it. Here in Texas, hundreds of National Guardsmen deputized for border enforcement. Like, this stuff is happening. It is absolutely happening. Now, matter of fact, I've seen articles in Texas about, plainclothes citizens being deputized. That's a word where given some kind of police powers, comes from cowboy movies. Not all police powers, where they're actually bringing in private citizens to help on this, if I remember correctly. And there's so much panic about this in the state of Texas that apparently, like, the Republicans in the Texas Parliament or Congress or House, some of them have flipped their ideology. Like they're being called to say, do something to stop this. Good luck. Good luck. Now, on the privacy front, here is big tech climbing into your brain. Okay. So we have Apple, and what you're seeing now is that virtual reality is now going to be run by AI. So you can have the metaverse that's AI powered, not just having the metaverse be, Decentraland and Sandbox as like a giant digital parking lot. So, question: machines, AI, e-commerce inside the metaverse. What will you be paying with? Stable coins, PayPal, Bitcoin, XRP, right? What will machines want to use as money? Right? I mean, do you want to be in the metaverse and do you want everybody to see what you do? I don't know, man. I don't know. But I do know that if you can put something on your head and Silicon Valley is kind of in your face, literally, I like the idea of privacy. This is an underrated theme. RFK talked about transactional freedom. That was something that he talked about a lot at the Libertarian Convention, right? And that's where Trump really had to pick up his game on crypto. Transactional freedom and privacy in the metaverse. Now, back to the state of Virginia. So we got 15,000 people coming out of the IRS. Now, of course, this makes a great tweet, right? It's like mob justice. It's like, yeah, 15,000, get out. Okay. So let's think about this for a second. These 15,000 people, where are they going to go work? Right? Like one government worker could go work at another government agency. And I've been through this at Wall Street, like after 2008, great financial crisis. I've actually been through it a couple times. It's one of the reasons why I'm in crypto YouTube, because I'm just tired of it, right? Every time something happens, you get laid off. At the same time, every company that you might go work for is also laying people off. And no one's safe. So when you lay off these 15,000 people, they're going to wind up collecting unemployment for, I don't know, however long they can collect unemployment, to the fact that they may actually have to extend it. Like they may have to go state of emergency in Virginia. I don't know what Washington, D.C. is going to do. Washington, D.C. is this little, it's not even a state. So when you have all these people, right, this is going to require a Fed response. Not today, but in 3 months, right? Because if you look at this, right, like, people are trying to hire lawyers, wipe hard drive, offshore bank, bleach bit. People are panicking, absolutely panicking, right? Like RICO law, RICO charge, whatever it is that means. Now, check this out. The wildest things are happening in Washington, D.C. Here is Arlington, Virginia. Everything is put on the market. It's hard to believe that these people actually waited this long to do this. So, and there are websites, forgive me if I've already said this, there are Twitter feeds that are tracking who is putting their house up for sale. So they see a new listing, track the address, and say, oh, look, this guy works for the World Bank or whatever. Like, this is not funny. Like, if these people can't sell their houses, and how could they? You probably can't see these numbers. But I mean, look at these numbers. 2.4, 1.45 million, 860K, right? 3.5 million. It's like, whoa. Like, where's the bid for all this? There is no bid. There is no bid. So what happens? Well, people they drive down to the bank and they turn in the keys, right? It's like, you owe you have a $3.5 million house, but you have enough maybe saved up, or have another job or whatever to rent an apartment, but it's not the job that sustained the $3.5 million house because Elon turned off the sugar. So what do? Well, you just go down to the bank and you turn in the keys. I mean, I just happened to a friend of mine, and they were in real estate, right? They had a condo in Vegas. They bought a condo in Vegas, like pre-2008. The value of the condo basically went to zero overnight, and they just turned in the keys. You're going to pay a mortgage on something that is worth that won't come back for 30 years or won't come back at all. Just turn the keys. So what is this going to do to regional banks? You got the banks borrowing money from the Fed now. The Silicon Valley problem never really went away. It went away because the Fed just hands out money. This is going to bring rates down. Like, this brings rates down. You cannot have like an entire state implode on the real estate front and not have that bring in a Fed response. Because of the word that you will eventually hear is contagion, right? Because, Elon is going to be relentless because the mission to Mars is online and he doesn't care. They don't care. Trump doesn't care. I can tell you that right now. You're going to hear all this baloney that, oh yeah, well, they got to stop this or blah, 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 consequent. They don't care. They tried to put Trump in jail. He had to sit through a trial. He got, someone tried to hurt him multiple times. Elon knows that the mission to Mars is on the line. He does not care. Elon laid off like 20,000 of his own people in Austin, Texas. It's tough to get a job in Austin, Texas, because most of the jobs are computer jobs that are filled by people from overseas. So if you throw 10,000 people out of Tesla at that huge factory, finding the next job is tough. Where are you going to find a job in Virginia to support a $3.5 million house? Dude, you're not. And if one bank goes down, it can affect it can affect multiple other banks, right? It's not just one bank, right? Every bank's going to take a hit on this. You're going to have 15% unemployment in these areas, right? I mean, it's already being reported. And then, of course, to complete the picture, John McAfee has a saying, don't ask me about anything. Don't ask me what I think. You know why? Because I have no reliable information. Whatever the government or the media is putting out is probably wrong. So how can I make a decision when I have no facts? Now you're actually going to get the facts that every job created in the last year is fake. And there is a crypto point to this. Rates must come down. I think that's what's holding up the stock market. You're not seeing any fear of NVIDIA in 10 days. Not seeing any fear at all, right? They just went right back to up only, right? Our market's melting down and they went to up only. It's infuriating. But that's because rates have to come down. And so does the currency, right? It's got to come down, right? And I'm kind of hoping, pardon me, I don't have slides on it. There's kind of hope in me that this German election goes to a point where people actually want to buy the euro again. I'm kind of hoping that's the case. Although I've seen other things where they're talking about social disorder in Germany over the election. I don't know. I do know this. If you're in Europe and you're not trying to get your hands on as much crypto as you can, and even as much gold and silver as you can, you're crazy. Because if you do have social disorder over there for whatever reason, right? And you've got governments that are not citizen friendly or both. This is the recipe for crypto. This is the recipe for privacy. This is the recipe for doing everything you can to maintain human sovereignty. And I think the problem with this human sovereignty privacy narrative is that the people in power are so popular, right? But you still need it because not everybody is as popular as they are. And even if they are, right? So coming off the screen share, right? Watch this. I tried to find the tweet. All I could get was a screenshot. So here's some guy with 1 million followers, right? So Democrats are worried about Doge and Elon stealing American citizen data from the government. They haven't stopped to ask you or explain why the government needs to be keeping our personal data in the first place. Now, we know Silicon Valley's got all our data, but Uncle Sugar's got data. And who exactly has your data? And do you want that going forward? Do you want some AI machine having all your data? Now, is that a catalyst for crypto as a whole? Probably not. But if there's another DeepSeek event, right? Things like, cross-chain, privacy, silent swap, Zcash, antivirus, right? Privacy-based services. And that sector is completely dead. Remember that slide about Bitcoin in the beginning? Like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of Bitcoin 10 years ago. Now I'm a millionaire. Dude, there's stuff out there in this market, right? Remember when Brian Young found Arrow at 0 and then it went to $2? Like, dude, there's stuff in this market that's going to rally for 10 years. You just have to find it. You just have to find it. Okay, so I put out a couple of antivirus videos. I think every day that this tries to hold is a good day, right? I'll take a consolidation around 10 million because, I always go back to this. They have an eSIM card service that you can buy privately, private gift cards. Then they're coming up with something that, I'm going to need them to teach me about. It's called a mixer, right? So you can take your Solana, put it into the mixer, and then the Solana spits out somewhere and they can't follow you on chain. It's a privacy function, right? Because, they're going to peer into your life. These machines are going to peer into your life. And then, once Elon punches out of Doge and goes back to the private sector, the deep state's going to go right back at it. I mean, yeah, Trump's going to take him out to the woodshed, no doubt, right? He's going to like eradicate the whole area that they live in economically, but they will be back, right? Or it'll be the machines from the private sector, right? They take out the public sector threat and it moves to the private sector. So here are our friends getting accidental publicity for free. Elon Trump fart, ETF 500. 9.5 million, the same as antivirus. Crazy. Okay, crazy. Speaking of machines, Elon has Grok 3 coming out, which I've seen the interviews on this a while ago. Like, Elon was like, yeah, we're getting Grok 2 out there, but the real revolution is Grok 3. I'm like, okay. AI makes my life easier, but, if OpenAI, share screen. If OpenAI is under pressure from DeepSeek and Grok, they're going to remove the safety features. They've already got whistleblowers coming out of OpenAI, and nobody wants to hear this. And there's a reason why you want to hear it. It's because individual sovereignty and crypto is going to be so important that the way to do this is to start studying it now. Like I said, I did a video last night. Like I'll put this up on my Twitter, right? So I've done 2 videos on my Twitter, right? So I have this one from last night about antivirus and about how privacy matters. They're after the guy that founded Bitcoin Cash, Roger Ver. They're after this guy for whatever reason. He didn't pay his taxes. That's what the charge is. The guy had to run out of the country and renounce his citizenship to get away from whatever they were trying to do to him. Okay. So because he had to renounce his citizenship, nobody wants to give the guy a break. But the fact is, if he comes back to the United States, or if the Spanish government where he lives, if they send him back, he's going to jail for 100 years. Now, let's just say the guy had a tax problem. What would the government have done with his money? What would the government have done with his money? They would have bought sushi at the Pentagon. So we're going to put a guy in jail for $109. And it was the same thing with McAfee, right? That was the thing that they ultimately ran down McAfee on. The cartels couldn't get him. So then they sent tax collectors. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, McAfee's antivirus company paid millions in taxes. What would they have done with the money? Right? And what they did to these guys, or they said, you know what? We don't like you for what you're saying. We don't like you. Now, is Trump going to do that today? No. But there have been cases where people have opened their mouth and gotten shut off on certain social media platforms. That still happens, right? Somebody got debanked the other day, right? Pardon John McAfee, from my little Twitter feed, has got 8.6K views or 8.6K impressions, right? And then I followed it up with this, and I'm trying to get Alex Jones's attention on this whole idea about transactional freedom and the fact that the whole privacy ecosystem is massively underpriced, along with cross-chain, which leads me to Swiftcoin. I was like, hey, somebody's asking for Swiftcoin. Well, let's check it out. So my understanding is that this is cross-chain everything. So I got hurt in one cross-chain play. Swift C hits its premium zone around 4.5 cents and then comes off. And now it's sitting on the 62% retracement after everybody seemingly packed it in on money flow. This is daily, right? Daily. Okay. So 0.02, it's pretty much 0.02 even. And I looked at the website. I'm like, okay, let's look into this. And I'm like, oh my God, one stop cross chain. I'm like, oh, well, no wonder this was mooning. Look, folks, here's the deal. You don't understand anything that I just talked about what's going on in Virginia and what the interest rate situation is there. You're going to need, because this is going to wake up. Bitcoin's going to wake up. Solana's going to wake up because of the Solana phone and because people are going to play with memes when Bitcoin is quiet. And Ethereum's going to wake up because you're going to have institutional DeFi as a necessity. You may need to tokenize all real estate in Virginia. You may have to get it on the blockchain, or you may have to use Pro or whatever. You're going to need some blockchain solution to move that market. Otherwise, it's not going to move. It's just going to lock and break down. So, on ETH, you have a 9 bottom this week. So maybe they have one more flush to the downside. That's it, maybe. Right? Now, of course, you don't want to see ETH go up 8% and then fail. That would be bad. But again, what has ETH done? And if you have Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana moving, you will have a cross-chain rally of epic proportions. Right? Meanwhile, again, Swiftcoin just sitting there quietly, up 12% today. That's great, right? But it is way off of its high, right? And if you go to stuff like, if you start looking at this on a weekly basis, right? I'm interested in this Bitcoin Cash 9 bottom, right? Because I had to study the Roger Ver thing for these videos that I did, because what they did to McAfee and what they did to Roger Ver, they could do to other people. So I'm like, hey, what's this Bitcoin Cash thing all about? Because, the other thing that's funny is Litecoin is up only because of the ETF talk, right? Now, again, they're running into resistance up here around 150. And generally speaking, the market does not do well when Litecoin leads the market. When Litecoin goes along with the market, it's awesome. But if Litecoin is the only thing going up while the rest of the market's doing nothing, historically, it has not been great. Personally, I would rather do Bitcoin Cash. I actually think the next ETFs are going to be a combination of American-made cryptos. Let me put Hedera up here. Okay. So Hedera Weekly, there's actually a decent move, I think, yesterday that fizzled. 2 more days in Hedera for a 13 bottom rather. Okay. Algorand, which I like, is sitting here right on top of an old DeMark high, right? So the resistance, which they blew through, is now support. I actually like these coins, right? You got to start asking yourself, even though this is hard, right? What does everyone really want in crypto? They want alt season. Right? They want to buy 6 or 7 altcoins and have them all 5x. Right? I know the YouTube thumbnails, right? Like, these are going to 10x, these are going to 100x, these are going to 1000x. Okay. I get that. And that's fine. The time where you find these things is in these mini winters. Because one thing, again, a colleague of mine said this and everybody blew her off, right? Is that instead of a 4-year cycle, which everyone is obsessed with, you're going to have mini cycles, right? So you're going to go all the way up, AI agents, and then all the way down. And then you're going to have a winter, except it's not being a 4-year or a 2-year winter. It might be a 4-month winter, right? All the way up, all the way down, AI agents. American-made cryptos, all the way up, 62% retracement, right? Like what's the retracement? I know I got to share the screen. Like just say Algorand, right? Like if they find out that there's a problem with gold at the Fed or at Fort Knox or whatever, like the first thing anyone's going to say is, why is this not on the blockchain? Right? Here's Algorand. Right? Algorand can get precious metals on the blockchain. A lot of stuff is sitting at 62% retracement. So rather than show 500 charts, your quest is find something with a narrative, find something on support, like SwiftC or Algorand. There's an example, right? I mean, if I could pick all of them, but you may not have to pick all of them, because if it's American made and it has a value proposition that's understandable, like cross-chain or privacy, right? Then it's like, hey, is this undervalued? Antivirus and Elon Trump fart, same valuation. Same valuation. These are things you have to think about, because back in the day, like you couldn't convince people to buy Bitcoin. Somebody brought Bitcoin to me in 2016 or 2017 early. And, he said, well, I got all this stuff, right? Like I got Bitcoin, and this is what Bitcoin is. And I got a card that has an ounce of gold on it, right? So I can carry an ounce of gold in my pocket, and this might become money. And I actually thought the gold card, like the gold dollar bill, so there was a gold card with an ounce of gold. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Somebody might take that as money. Meanwhile, it was really Bitcoin. And I didn't understand Bitcoin until somebody who I used to work with at Goldman said, hey, man, we need you to take a look at Bitcoin because we want to know what you think. That's when I got it. But it took a while. It took a while. Like I had to see it twice, right? So how many times might you have to look? I don't know. You may have to look a bunch of times. And if the market is boring, that means that no one's looking. The market is down and boring. It's like, but that's when you got to believe in Web3, human sovereignty. The future is not the stock market. The future is not, whatever goes on in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. This whole sugar train, the economy built on the whole sugar train, which is what it's been, right? This is a good concluding point, right? What has the economy been based on the last 4 years? Government spending. So what's going to happen when they unwind that? Well, rates go lower, currencies go lower, and everyone realizes that, wow, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. They had the realization in America with the Trump landslide. They may have the realization again in Germany because DAX is up only. Let me see if I can pull that chart up, right? If people realize, and not just people realize it, but it becomes undeniable, right? You know this thing I always say, like, it doesn't matter until it does. Wow, look at this thing. Most of the time when crypto people look at equities, just like when equities people look at crypto, it's probably over. But that's what DAX has done, right? An accumulation cone, breakout. It's just, it's at the premium zone. It's probably overdone. But let me just ask you something. And I don't live in Germany. I don't know if we got people out there who do. But there's a lot of people out there in the world who are going, you know what? Whatever's been going on here, we're not doing it anymore. And part of that, the biggest part of that is crypto, because this is this gigantic marketplace for humans to go to. It's not big compared to the stock market, but it is big in the sense that it does have a lot of choices. They have built a lot of stuff, right? There is a lot of American-made crypto, right? There is. I showed this thing. I don't have it up now, but like Banter Bubbles, like you can go to CoinGecko, like made in the USA crypto. And what happens if made in the USA crypto turns into made in China crypto and made in Germany crypto, and everybody wants involved? You got to ask yourself, that's what you look at when it looks like there's nothing to look at. That's the market update. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will see you next week.